Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls. Lovely to be back for a Saturday live tarot chat. And today I thought, because I am a little bit disorganized and not following schedule as I've been away for a while, I would do today. I would play on the colors of Holi and spring and count down for you my 12 most colorful tarot decks. And I know how much you all love to look at cards. And so surprisingly, I went through a lot. I went through my entire, I have a spreadsheet of all of my tarot decks and highlighted the ones that I thought would fit into this category. And I was quite surprised actually at the amount of black or darkness in some of the decks. So they were all disqualified. So I had a long list. And from that, I have pared it down quickly to 12 decks. And I hope you enjoy this today. And I will talk about these decks. Most of them have been around in my library for a while, and tell you what I love about them and how I might use them. So welcome. Hi, Amelia. Nice to have you here. My name is Sadhana. If you're new to my channel, a warm welcome to all of you. The one that's in hand is a second edition of the Tarot of the Ozarks. This is a deck that I called my Easter basket deck at one point. Absolutely love the colors. The second version of the back is also fits beautifully into this category. Really pretty color backs. All of the decks that I am showing you today, I will fan through the palette of cards. And this one is in the 12th position. There is a lot of white in this deck, and yet there is also some really beautiful and very different color choices for a Tarot de Marseille or a Tarot de Marseille inspired deck. The way that the light shines through, the use of color is really unique. And there are red cards, turquoise cards, pink cards. The way that the floral embellishments are used is really, it's really beautiful. And yeah, and the blues are just, I mean, this 8 of Pentacles is just gorgeous. And I have found that with this deck that I am very much able to use the power of color, or the use of color to speak to the cards themselves. This is a gorgeous Ace of Coins. And I've used this particular deck for quite a bit of time, and I found that this was a really nice transition deck. Getting back into Tarot de Marseille, it is not strictly a Tarot de Marseille, but certainly inspired in that way, and I love the way that LePage uses color here. And not perhaps in a traditional sense, but in a very creative way. I know there's lots of devil cards that have the color red, and this is one of them. Beautiful greens. Here is one of the pink cards. There's not too many of them. So yeah, so this one, and this, you know, I didn't choose very many what do you call them, pastel colored cards decks today, because they're not really bright, and I wanted to really fire up the colors of Holi. For those of you that aren't familiar with that festival, it happened earlier this week in connection with the full moon in Virgo, and it's a lovely celebration in India to honor spring and the welcoming of color into our days. Yeah, so welcome to Yashi. Nice to have you here. Hello to Clevis and Dee as well. I am slowly starting to feel better. Yeah. So that's number 12. In the 11th position, much to my surprise, is the Playful Heart Tarot. And this deck also has beautiful, colorful backs. Now, not all 12 of the decks that I'm sharing with you today have beautiful colored backs, but this one does. And I thought that this very pretty deck would be much higher in the ranking. And one of the things that surprised me with the Playful Heart Tarot was the number of gray cards that there are. And you can see there's lots of bright and vivid and beautiful colors, happy colors in this deck. But the general mood of the palette is actually quite blue, almost gray in some cases. And until you actually, this one is quite colorful. I think in mood, generally, this is quite a happy deck. It is quite a serious little reader. And I think I will include this one. So my next, I mentioned that I'm going to do theme side-by-sides. And I started this year with a review of Waite Smith decks, Waite Smith versions. So now my next step is going to be doing side-by-sides of Waite Smith inspired decks. And I think what I'm going to do is ask the question, does this deck hold up to the Waite Smith Tarot? And I'm going to do 2 Waite Smith inspired decks with the Centennial or another, and probably do that over the next month. So yeah, this is a very pretty deck. And this is in, surprisingly, the number 11 position. And like I said, in fanning out the cards like this, I was surprised at the amount of gray and darkness within the deck. Yeah. Welcome to Sarah. And these are not in exact order. So this deck is the beautiful backs. Thoth Journey Tarot. Thoth Journey Tarot. And it is a really beautiful deck. You can see all of the colors here. Slightly less of a dark array than the previous deck, but you can still see there are a number of cards that are black or dark gray, and some really vibrant and beautiful ones as well too. This deck has one of my favorite Chariot cards, and the paintings in this deck are just stunning. If you're not familiar with the Thoth Journey Tarot, there is a detailed journey in and out of each card. It is a Thoth-inspired deck and a very personal journey into the cards of the creator. Yeah. And I would, again, I think this one fits towards the bottom of the numbers. It is certainly has a number of challenging cards, as all tarot decks should. But let me show you that gorgeous. This is beautiful. 9 of water. Chariot card. And one of the things I love, I really do love these cards that reveal a scene. There's kind of like a window looking into something. And I'm happy to link all of these later on for you. All right, let's find that card. Very clever art card, temperance card in this deck, incorporating all of the elements into this pattern. And here is this beautiful chariot card. Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous, colorful deck. Thoth Journey Tarot. Now the next 3 decks, I'm not quite sure of the order. This is the I Am the Artist Tarot. Doesn't have a particularly colorful back, but you can see it has quite a colorful palette, both the borders as well as the content of each of the cards. This is by the creator of the Sakki-Sakki Tarot, and I will be doing very soon a detailed walkthrough of this deck and a commentary. I have spent quite a bit of time reading the contemplations of the creator and the extensive guidebook, and so I'm happy to share some thoughts on this deck. Very colorful, some quite poignant reflections on what a detached or a missing body part might represent. Really interesting journey from Sakki-Sakki to this deck. I don't have Sakki-Sakki, but the journey from deck to deck is described in the guidebook, as well as the journey of all of the symbols that are included. The creator's personal journey with discovering these symbols. Yeah. I Am the Artist Tarot also really does a great job in the guidebook of talking about our own personal journeys as creator, as creatrix. You can see some of the titles have been changed, the names have been changed in these cards. Yeah. And the Dancing Devil. So I'm actually really I'm looking forward to doing this review. Quite surprised with where my observations have gone with this deck. All right. Now I have 2 Tarot de Marseille decks that I'm including next. This is the same creator as the Playful Heart Tarot. This is the Pip Speak Tarot. And it has really beautiful sword cards. I love the saturated color of the swords and the intensity of the color throughout many of this deck. I had to include this. It just feels like I couldn't not include this in my most colorful decks video. And I did readings with this 2 weeks ago for my Monday Marseille, which I will be continuing this Monday. And if you do have a question that you would like for me to read on Monday, please be sure to put that in the comments of the video from 2 weeks ago. And this is actually a very powerful reader, this deck. I was surprised actually at the how profound the readings were the other day. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I have 3 Tarot de Marseille that I'm going to share with you that are very, very colorful. This one you don't see very often, or even on my channel very often. This is a large deck. This is the Ben Gross's Tarot of Rivesaltes, and it is color coded by suit. And so those are the majors. They are the least colorful borders, but you can see the intensity of the color for Marseille. This is just really brilliant colors. And I'll show you a few from each of the suits. I think it's a really pretty deck. And the backs are also really beautiful. I feel fortunate to have a copy of this. Not everyone is. I believe it works that, yes, it is the larger the number, the more intense the color. I'm going to read with this deck on Monday. And then here are the reds, and you can see from low numbers to high numbers how the color gets richer and richer. So that's pretty special. Yeah. Okay. Now, going back to mass market, Waite Smith inspired decks. This is a Trevisan deck, and this is kind of a crazy deck. If I fan this one out, you can also see the palette of the Muse Tarot is really something, and going through the cards individually as well too, there is just a riot of color in these cards. The use of light is quite clever as well too. Not a deck that I rarely pull this deck out. I think using this deck for its title, its name title, is very useful. It's also a deck that has a lot of doorways and portals. The kings are called the Muse of the suit, and they are horizontal cards. And the suit of air is the suit of voices. Trevisan's first Oracle deck, Sacred Creator Oracle. I have the indie version of that. It's like this deck is a follow-up for that. Sacred Creator, and then the Muse Tarot. And some really sort of bizarre collages as well too. Perhaps inspiring action, inspiring ideas. This whole deck may be inspiration for your own vision board. And very little black in this deck. Here's the Muse of Emotions. Inspiration is the suit of fire. Lots of succulents in this deck. The Muse Tarot by Chris-Anne Donnelly. Okay. Now, where should I go? I really wanted to include this deck. I have trimmed it. And this is the Crystal Tarot. And I love the intensity of the colors in this deck. And the palette is quite limited, but the blues are so blue and the greens are so green. One of the things I love about this deck is the richness of the color. And honestly, I pulled out quite a few pretty pastels for this display of my most colorful decks. And the ones that I am most partial to are the ones with this intensity of color. Yeah, and I want to respond to Dee's comment. We had so right now, part of my Monday to Friday recordings, I am looking at the Arthurian decks, and specifically, I was inspired by Legend, the Arthurian Tarot by Anna Marie Ferguson, as the deck that started this discussion on this series. And Dee, and there's one other who commented on the Merlin card, and we were talking about really the horrific story of Merlin that was shared by Anna Marie Ferguson for the Magician card. And I think Dee's point here is that what do I want to say? I felt the same way as well too in Tarot of the Divine, that the story Yoshi Yoshitani used to depict the particular tarot card kind of ruined the archetype of the card for me. And I decided kind of to just use the art itself and disregard the associated story because it was quite shocking. But I am really looking forward to going through all of these stories. I think there's lots to discuss and share and reflect on. So I really appreciate your participation. Thank you. All right, so back to my most colorful decks. This Crystal Tarot is one that it's just one of those decks that I love to hold in hand, and it is a deck that does flip the energy of water and swords. And my favorite court cards are the sword courts that are featured in water. The pentacles, the coins are also gorgeous here. It's truly a beautiful, beautiful deck. Let's see if I can find you one of those. The King, oh my goodness, the King of Swords is just, here it is. Look at this card. It's so beautiful. And there's the Knight of the same suit. All right, so that is the Crystal Tarot. And I promise I'll link all of these below. All right, so I have I have 4 more to share with you. And this one, my favorite card, is sitting on the top. Hello, Donna. Welcome. Oh, I I really do appreciate your candor. It's very refreshing. Donna says, I can't wait to get the new version of the Crystal Tarot when it comes out. I didn't know there was a new version. Yeah, it's really lovely. All right, so this is the new choice, Tarot de Marseille. And this deck has the most gorgeous, saturated colors. I think the minors are a little softer. The majors are just beautiful, beautiful, intense colors. Yeah. The Hanged Man is really beautiful in this deck as well, too. And this is another one that does a really, like the, I was mentioning with the Tarot of the Ozarks, I feel like the energy of the plants and the way that the flowers and the ribbons move amongst the cards is really something. You know, and one deck that I wish I could include in this top 12 most colorful decks is the Shadowscapes Tarot. But it's a surprisingly soft color palette. I had a good look at that this morning as well, too. Yeah, I think you could describe this deck also as a riot of color. New choice, Tarot de Marseille. I'll be sure to do some readings with this one in a Marseille Monday as well, too. All right. Do you have any guesses what the top 3 most colorful decks are? And I'm not sure that I can put them in a particular order. I'm not sure. All right. Okay. Well, I must be really out of the loop because I didn't know the Crystal Tarot was coming out in a new version. So very excited for that. All right. So this is number 3. This is number 3. And this deck is also a beautiful collection of saturated colors. And I would include the Oracle deck, the sister Oracle deck, with this one as well, too. I think the colors in Journey of the Sacred Bee are so incredibly stunning. And no, I have not. I chose not to back the Kickstarter for Kelly's new deck. I just think that a world of story, and the purples are so, I mean, I love purples. Another deck that has some really beautiful purples is the beautiful, not the Beautiful Rebellion, Lonely Dreamer Tarot. Has lots of these gorgeous purples, but it's a very, very dark deck. You know, Tarot of Echoes is not. And that might have to, actually, I didn't pull it out. I think there's quite a bit of black in Tarot of Echoes. And one of the things that one of my criteria, though this was a really quick, what is it with succulents? It's interesting that both Chris Ann and Kelly Burton have a great number of succulents in their collage work. All right, I may have to do a litmus test with Tarot of Echoes because it's not here. Look at this, these gorgeous colors. And I have to say that all of these decks that I'm sharing with you are well loved and worked with, except for I Am the Artist, because that's a new one to my library. But I've had great readings with all of these decks. So Amelia suggested Tarot of Echoes, which I intentionally didn't include because I feel like while it is a lot of color, and maybe I am wrong, I was thinking there is a lot of black in this deck. But let's look at Tarot of Echoes. I guess it should be a contender. It's a pretty colorful deck. But this is what I did with all of the 20-something decks that I pulled through. And it does have quite a bit of gray and black. Lots of beautiful, intense color. But I actually didn't include this, maybe because I've used it so much since I have had it in hand. Okay, so this is the second to last one that I pulled out for today. Hello, Magdalena. Dee, you're funny. Yeah, no, my naughty Marseille is not making an appearance today. No. This one, I almost gave this away. And you know what? I am so glad that I didn't. I did give away the Trip and Waite, but this is the Borderless Groovy Waite by Tarot Collectibles. And I'm so glad that I still have this deck. And I did mention that I wanted to do a side-by-side of this deck with the Albano Waite. I don't know if that's going to happen. This deck just makes me happy. Not to be taken too seriously, of course. So funny. How's that? How about that for a Ten of Swords? Nobody's guessed the number one most colorful deck. And I guess you could say these are the most saturated ones. Dee has a question. Hello, Winds of Reflection. And Donna's here. Welcome, Donna. Do I have a sparkly Smith Waite? I don't remember who makes them, but they are pure bling. I do not have a sparkly Smith Waite. You can let me know, Dee. I did not pull out any oracles. So there is, yes, I would say that one of the Soul Trees decks definitely would fit in. These are all tarot, and I thought I would just stick with tarot for today. Not the original Soul Trees, but the other one. Okay. All right. So here is what I would say is the most colorful deck in my collection of cards. Yes, Ascension. Yes. The Ascension. And look at this. I mean, this deck is crazy explosion of color. It's just wild. Look at it. I mean, seriously. I purchased this deck for the color. It's like just wow, wow, wow. And the backs are awful. The backs are so boring compared to the front, to this side. I absolutely. And this one, so this was a deck that Dane 7, what's his name? The Alley Man made me do it. Yeah, the Alley Man made me do it. And I purchased it for this card. And I'm so glad that I have these cards. The way that the elements dance in the color on the pages. And if you put these cards up to Google Translate, there are some phrases on the court cards. Yeah, this is just amazing. On the aces, it just says the root of. And look at this moon card. I mean, wowza. Wowza. I want to spend some time with this deck eventually and do some deeper reflections with it. Okay, let's go to the cups because the cups are just crazy beautiful. These are the wands. Or the bâton. Okay, here's the cups. Like, look at this. These are just... Look at this one. You know, it's a really good point that you make that it can be too much. And with a deck with this intensity of color, I think there might be, I mean, I believe that you always pull out the right, love this Eight of Cups. You always pull out the right deck for the right occasion. And what that might be for this deck, I can't say in this particular moment, but it's certainly not one that I would read with all the time. But wow, this is most definitely my most colorful tarot deck, and that's the neon tarot. Saskia comments on the Margaret Peterson, and yeah, it is a really beautiful, beautiful deck that has very nuanced color. I'm thinking of some of the Pentacles cards, the way that the seasons are incorporated and the water and the shading. It's really, really beautiful. Winds of reflection. Yes, every deck has a place and a time. Okay, so I want to tell you what's going on and get you sort of caught up, because I have been away for a little bit. And let me just go back here. And then I can get rid of that banner. Okay. Monday. So Mondays going forward, I am doing readings, and I'm using both client readings as well as your requests to demonstrate and practice readings with various Tarot de Marseille and Tarot de Marseille inspired decks, both contemporary and classic ones. So that's going to be ongoing. I'm going to record them on Mondays. You probably won't see them until Tuesdays, but they are being recorded on a Monday. And then I have, I've done one. I am doing meditation recordings on Monday as well too. And I probably will lower the price. I have added another level of membership to my channel, and I want to thank all of you that are members of my channel. It really does help me to build content. And so Mondays I'm also recording a meditation, and that is part of like I said, a new membership level. And then Tuesday to Thursday, I am going to be recording themed side-by-sides. And my next side-by-side is going to take Waite Smith inspired decks such as Tarot of Echoes. And what I want to do is have a Waite Smith deck, such as the Centennial, and then 2 Waite Smith inspired decks on either side of that. And I don't know if I want to say, like, do these decks hold up? How far away are they from the artwork of Pamela Colman Smith? I've never done anything like this, and I was just going to do Waite Smith inspired decks, but I think it would be kind of cool to put them alongside Pamela Colman Smith's artwork and just reflect on that, because like I said, I'm not sure it's something that I have ever done. And of course, some Waite Smith inspired decks are closely connected to the original artwork, and others have a lot more artistic license. And I'll try not to compare apples and oranges, but try to keep it, do apples and apples. That's what I would like to do with that. What does Sarah have to say here? If you have followed through, so the last month I did lots of versions of the presently available Waite Smith decks. And so now this is kind of taking this to another level. And I know a lot of people really quickly turn to Waite Smith inspired decks because they don't connect with Pamela Coleman Smith's original artwork. So I hope this can also help me to, I don't know, like, unless you actually put the decks side by side and the cards side by side, it's really tricky to know how far away a deck has strayed from original intention. Even if the artwork strays, I'm going to be looking at other symbolic or maybe even planetary connections that are apparent in a lot of these Waite Smith inspired decks. So that's coming up with that. And then in the Arthurian series, only at number 2. So next is High Priestess. And so we'll be talking about the energy of that archetype. And then I will read you, of course, the story from Anna Marie Ferguson's book and compare the High Priestesses from the other 2 Arthurian decks. I don't think it will be, this is going to be a 78. Well, I'm not sure. Probably if I go at this pace, it'll be a 78 video series, but we'll see how that goes. My intention was to weave some cards together because there are some stories that fit together in the Arthurian decks where there are connections between stories among the cards in the deck. So I was hoping that it wasn't going to be a 78 series, a 78 episode series, but we'll have to see how that goes. So yeah, so that's the plan for the week. And next week I can share with you the decks that I have compared and contrasted. So I'm just going to shuffle one of these beautiful decks, and why don't we do the Neon Tarot and do a really quick reading. How are you all doing in the aftermath of the full moon? Are you allowing some of that energy to integrate? I think the dance of Mercury and Venus, both in slowing down, is going to be a lot for us to process in our everyday lives. And I think to be in the energy of the little bit quieter waning moon right now is really important, to embrace that and to take some time to be alone and to be quiet is really, really important. So through this intensity, I'm going to pull a couple of cards from a rather intensely colored deck for some advice in navigating this week ahead. And as always, I ask this message be in the highest for the greatest good, and that no harm be done. So be it. Nature is always helpful. And I'm sorry, Winds of Reflection, I don't know your name. If you want to share it, I'll make sure to write it down so I remember. And that applies for anybody where your name isn't part of your channel and I don't know your name. Be inspired. This is the star card. If you look at it as a small version, what do you see? What shines through here? This is actually one of the softer cards in this deck. And I'm looking at this halo of light. It almost looks like a negative reflection, like in a negative. Ravneet. Oh, so Ravneet, did you have a different channel name at some point? Because I think you've been here before. Yeah. I feel like the energy of this star, it's like a headache. It's coming from within, but I feel like this is a really important reminder to listen. And if the intensity of the messages, the noise, the headache, the cold, the sickness is too intense to close your eyes, I love the way that she's wrapped up in her robes, in her costume. To have the discipline to listen. To have the discipline to listen. It feels... And there's something about this card not being super intense. You know what I mean? Like, this is not one of the most brightly colored. There's a nuance, there's a subtlety to this energy that's filtering through all of our nervous systems. And so as you fall asleep, pay attention. As you awake in the mornings, pay attention to those messages that are shining through. Hello, V. Welcome. This is not a deck that I have purchased, and I fell in love with the dark blue edges on that deck and the fact that it is Japanese inspired, that I love the peony, but I haven't purchased this deck. Yeah. It's giving me a dark feminine vibe. And then Donna says, I was thinking the same, Clevis. Her hair looks like a blue veil. All right, let's put a couple of cards on either side of her. Seven of Wands. You know, when I look at this card, especially with the horizontal wand, I feel that the layer of protection. Okay, can I say this? If you think of sevens as cards of doing something, right? Forward motion. But there's a layer of caution here and protection, like we smudge and we perhaps, it's like we don't go forth all guns a-blazing. King of Coins. Which feels like quite a grounded and settled nature. I also feel like the King of Coins offers a certain level of protection. Like, I feel like there's a message here of being a little guarded. almost like we would all do well to create a bit of a sanctuary to process the intensity of all that is going on right now. Like the sacred space in which in the sacred space that we individually create for our unique and individual growth. Guard that, and keep it safe and treasured and honored. You know, Sadhguru came on, I think it was about 6-7 days ago, and there was an episode about how important your sadhana is. Your sadhana, your daily practices. And we all have different sorts of daily practices. Some are quite religious, some are quite spiritual, some are quite pagan. Some of us don't even consider our daily sadhana to be a sadhana. And I believe that our daily practices are part of our personal growth and evolution, no matter how sacred or spiritual they are. It could be your daily walk in the forest, which does you a world of good and a world of healing. So anyway, when I saw this message, I didn't even watch the video. I just saw the title. It was just a reminder of how important this energy of dedication to growth through chaos is. We have the power to protect and to, in a way, guide and control our own journeys, despite all that is happening around us. Yeah, so I want to thank you. Thank you for joining me today. And lovely messages that you are sharing here. He is the earthly guardian. Ground into his protection and breathe. Listen and feel your energy. Namaste, everyone.